Welcome back to another episode of Baker Dave Presents. We're here once again at Temple University in the Morgan Hall kitchen. This is a working kitchen, so you may hear some noises from time to time. But today, I'm the special guest, because today we're going to play with chocolate, because it's Valentine's Day, or thereabouts. And I love chocolate, and you love chocolate, and everybody loves chocolate. So, without further ado, chocolate. So today, I have lots of different stuff here. I have a 51% dark chocolate here. I wanted to bring this because I wanted to explain percentages to you, because I know a lot of it's fashionable now to actually show that it's a 70% chocolate or it's a 60% chocolate, and what does that mean? So chocolate is basically made up of four components. There's a cocoa liqueur, which is the cocoa mass, the actual chocolate part of it. There's a cocoa butter, there's a sugar, and there's vanilla. And that's basically it. Unless you have milk chocolate and you add milk powder or whatever. Your percentage is telling you what the percentage of the chocolate incorporates both the cocoa liqueur and the cocoa butter. So if you have a 70% chocolate, then 70% of it is cocoa liqueur and cocoa butter, and 30% of it is sugar and vanilla. Obviously, vanilla is not going to take up a lot. So as you can see, the higher the number, the less sweet it's going to be, because it's going to have less room for sugar, if that makes sense. So next time you're buying chocolate, you'll know what to look for. I wanted to touch on some fun things here that people can do with their significant others that they think is difficult that maybe isn't. One of the things I want to do is make some truffles today. I'd also like to make some chocolate dipped strawberries, because who doesn't love chocolate dipped strawberries, and yet everyone's afraid to make them. The reason people are nervous of chocolate dipped strawberries is because they think they have to temper the chocolate. So tempering is the process where we take chocolate and we bring it to the right temperature so that the fat and the cocoa liqueur won't separate, so they'll stay together. So if you ever leave chocolate out on the counter and the sun hits it, or it's in a warm car, and then it resets and you'll see these silver streaks, that's your cocoa butter rising back to the surface. So we don't want that to happen. We want them to be nice and fun and dancing around together. So we have to temper it, which means you'll take a chocolate, you'll heat it up, then you'll add extra chocolate to it and stir it till you bring it to the right temperature. What's fun about this is that in culinary school, I remember one of the fun things about it is we used to always have to test the temperature of the chocolate on our lip, because your lip is 98 degrees or whatever, and chocolate, so like a dark chocolate, maybe gets tempered to about 90 degrees. So it's going to feel cold on your lip, and your lip is very sensitive. So we used to literally just take and we would touch it to our lip, and like, that feels cold to me. It's funny because you knew who was having the chocolate classes, because for the rest of the day nobody ever got that stuff washed off, and they'd be walking around with chocolate hanging off their lips for most of the day, which is always fun. So this, unfortunately though, we don't actually have to temper. That's the point I was trying to make from this whole discussion about it. When you dip strawberries, the key is that the strawberries are cold. So if you have strawberries at a room temperature out in your house, you would need to have the chocolate tempered. But since the strawberries are cold, or today I also got some orange slices because I love chocolate dipped oranges myself, it doesn't have to necessarily be tempered, because the cold causes it to set up quick enough that the stuff doesn't separate. You don't want it to be super hot, and keep in mind that once you've melted chocolate over about 120 degrees, you're going to start crystallizing the sugar, and that's when it gets grainy, and you don't want any of that. So you want to keep it a pretty low temperature. The best way to melt chocolate is the microwave. I don't care what anybody else says. The microwave's the safest, best way to do it, and you literally do it in like 30-second intervals. You'll take your bowl, you stick it in there, 30 seconds and you'll stir it. 30 seconds and you'll stir it. 30 seconds and you'll stir it, and it'll probably be done. And when it looks like it's almost done, don't put it back in, just keep stirring it, because then you won't screw it up. If you do the double boiler method, a lot of times the steam will actually come back around, and if you get water in your chocolate, the whole thing seizes up and it's a god-awful mess. So, real quickly, as I was saying, chocolate dipped strawberries, not a big deal. You literally take the strawberries, and I'm going to say something that might be wrong, but I'm going to tell you why in a second. I generally don't wash the strawberries. As soon as you wash the strawberries, and I know it's wrong, you need to wash the strawberries, so start with washing the strawberries and drying them. But as soon as you wash the strawberry, it starts going bad. So if every strawberry that you use, you need to just wash what you need. Don't wash 1,000 of them. Wash like your handful that you're using, and that's it. If you wash them all and stick them back in the fridge, you'll notice they get mushy by the next day. That's because you washed them, and they're unprotected now. So you're literally just going to take the cold strawberry, dip it in your chocolate. I love how that just drips off of there. I usually give it a little drag on the edge and drop it down. And like I said, you're literally going to watch this set up before your eyes, because the cold strawberry causes the chocolate to set up. And this is way less money than going out and buying already dipped strawberries. So if you're trying to impress some people, this is a great idea. And it's a fun thing to do with your significant other as well. Now, I will warn you of the type of chocolate you'll want to use. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see the shine, how it's definitely starting to set up, the difference between the really shiny wet one and the one that looks a little bit drier. You definitely want to know what kind of chocolate you're using. I'm going to tell you right now, do not use chocolate chips. That is the one thing that people always make that mistake, and they try to use chocolate. You can use pretty much any chocolate bar or whatever that's out there that you want to use. That's fine. Don't use chocolate chips. Chocolate chips are actually designed not to melt. The point of the chocolate chip is that it still looks like a chocolate chip after it's been in a 350-degree oven for 10 or 15 minutes and comes back out. So there's less fat in it, so it tends to be really thick. It's very hard to work with. It doesn't coat your stuff nicely like this does. I mean, it wouldn't be dripping off like this, it'd be globbing off. So if you think that you're having trouble and you tend to use chocolate chips a lot, that's probably why. Don't use chocolate chips. They're only good for chocolate chip cookies. And like I said, oranges are good. Pretty much anything is okay. The one thing I will warn you, fruit-wise, is if you use a fruit that does not have some sort of skin. So like you have the orange skin here and stuff. If you tried to use melon, or you tried to use, it's fine if you're eating it fairly quickly. If you do that and then you let it sit, the water will get drawn out of the fruit of whatever kind of fruit it is, and it'll make a mess, and the chocolate will just fall off. So super simple. Chocolate tip fruit. You can chocolate tip anything, but if you do anything other than fruit that's cold, you're going to have to make sure you temper the chocolate. So that was easy, right? The next thing is truffles. So truffles, again, super easy, but people think it's complicated. And they're willing to spend several dollars for each truffle nowadays. Truffles start with ganache. So ganache is very simple. Every pastry shop has to have ganache. Like, it's one of the easiest things to make. It's super simple, and I'm going to give you it all in ratios. If you use dark chocolate, you're going to use 1 part of dark chocolate to 1 part of heavy cream. That's it. If it's milk chocolate, it's going to be 2 parts of milk chocolate to 1 part of heavy cream. And if it's white chocolate, it's going to be 3 parts of chocolate to 1 part of heavy cream. So if you were using, like today, I've got a pound of heavy cream here, and I'm going to stick it in a pot, and I'm going to boil it. And you need to be careful because it will boil over. Because as the bubbles start forming, the fat causes it to attach to each other, kind of like pasta with the starch, and it just keeps climbing up the side until it comes over. It won't burn like milk will, because milk doesn't have enough fat in it, so milk you can scorch and you can actually burn on the bottom. This won't burn like that. It'll actually boil up and boil over. So you want to watch it unless you like cleaning up messes. But you're going to literally just heat this up till it boils and starts rising, and then you pull it off, you throw your chocolate in, stir it, done. And you do all that off of the heat, okay? So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, so again, very simple. I've heated the heavy cream, and it is now heated in this pot. And I'm going to add my dark chocolate to it. And then, literally, I'm just going to stir it. And it looks kind of funky as you start stirring, and then eventually it just comes together and looks beautiful and silky. Any minute now, I swear. Look at that. See that nice little shine coming off of the silkiness in the middle there? I love chocolate. And all the chocolate is melting because of the hot cream. So again, chocolate melts at a fairly low temperature. So it doesn't take a lot to heat it up and melt it. So then we have beautiful, silky ganache. This is your base for your truffles. So truffles are named truffles because they resemble real truffles. And I know some people might be like, I thought that was a real truffle, but it's Real truffles are more like a mushroom, and they're only found in certain areas, and they're black, and they're misshapen a little bit, and they're kind of funny, and they're really expensive. Like a couple shavings, like $100. You know what I mean? For like a truffle. So it's very expensive to add truffles to stuff. They usually only add truffle oil to things when you go to fancy restaurants because they don't want to pay the money for the real truffle. These, however, are candies that look like those truffles, which is why that's how the idea of truffles came about. So what you do with this is you would set it aside, and you don't want to really like mess with it. You literally just set it aside, and it's going to take several hours for it to cool down to the point where it gets a nice thick consistency, which is more like this. And I have a white and a dark here that I made earlier, so that I could show you what we're doing with it. I have a scoop because that's the easiest way for me to do it. If you wanted to use a spoon at home or whatever, it's fine. It makes no difference to me. But you're just going to take that, and the other cool thing is you can actually infuse any flavor you want into this. If you want to put some little bacon bits in here, that might be fun. I'm a big fan of bacon and chocolate. Orange, like an orange compound you can put in there, or a raspberry marmalade you might mix in with it, and then you can get the different flavors of truffles for that. But either way, you're just going to basically take a scoop and you're just going to set it aside, or a spoonful, or whatever. And then you're going to let that sit a second. Because here's the thing about these is that one of the mistakes that people make a lot of times is they'll make truffles and they'll shape them up and then they'll stick them in the fridge so they get nice and hard so they can dip them because then they're easier to dip. The problem is that they also crack. Because the chocolate is completely covering it, the cold will actually set parts of it quicker, and then all of a sudden you'll get these cracks all along the truffle, which is not what you want at all. Easiest way to cover that up is to roll it in jimmies or shavings or some other thing, and then nobody even notices it's cracked. But if you can avoid doing that, the best bet would be to not have that crack at all. So you'll dip them and allow like almost a crust to form from the air, which is kind of cool. Because this is very soft even now, and I made these way earlier today. And they're almost round already, so it doesn't take much to get them to a slightly more rounded shape. And I love like the little spikiness coming off because to me that looks more like a truffle. So like these don't have to be perfect. That's the beauty of this. When I remember in culinary school, that was the big thing. I was shocked that they didn't have to be perfect. And the chef says to me, in probably a very heavy German accent, he said, what is this? These look like they come from a machine. You know, complaining because I made him look nice. He's like, no, real truffles, they all look different. Nature makes everything look different. You need to make it look different. So if you want stuff to look authentic, to look delicious, you don't have to stress so much that it's all perfect. You know what I mean? Now, this is what's a little bit interesting is a traditional truffle is actually rolled in cocoa powder, which is not something that Americans probably are too keen on because it makes it even more bitter. It's already a bitter chocolate, and you're going to make it even more bitter. But when you see it rolled in the cocoa powder, you understand if you've seen a real truffle, because pretty much that's what a real truffle looks like. It kind of has like some darker spots and some lighter spots, and it's kind of round-ish, but not really. Like that's what a truffle looks like if it was not a candy and it was an actual truffle. So that's an easy way to do it, and it'll sit out and again still harden up. One of the fun things I love about it is because I like getting dirty, as you can see. So I actually like dipping mine in chocolate. And I use my hands because I can, because I'm eating it and my loved one is eating it, so I'm clean. It's all good. So I have some white truffles that I previously made and are set up, and they have a nice crust on them now. And what we'll do is we'll dip it, because you don't have to do the same. You can do white into dark and dark into white. It makes no difference, right? So I don't really dip them. Like I don't just dip them, I actually roll them in my hand. So I'll take some chocolate and I'll actually just kind of roll it around so I get the nice thin coating, and it tends to be a little more choppy. And then I let that sit, and I usually do that twice. So as that's setting up, which it'll do momentarily, I would do that again. But I'm actually going to show you something else because I like this too. These right here are very cool. They are cocoa nibs. I'm a huge fan of cocoa nibs. If you ever ate like chocolate covered coffee beans, it's basically like that, but it's chocolate. So you crunch into it and you get the bitterness like you would of a coffee bean, but you get this aftertaste of this beautiful, lovely cocoa, if that makes any sense. You should definitely try them if you get a chance. So I was going to take some here, roll it around in this. Once again, making it pretty and truffly. And then roll it in the cocoa nibs. Because you can do that too. Like I said, you can put them in, you can put jimmies on them, you can do all sorts of fun things. And they look very professional, right? Oh, I do have to go back and do this one again because it's looking thin, and you see how there's some white sticking out? So when you do it the second time, you won't have that problem. It doesn't take much chocolate, like I said, and they don't have to be perfect. Matter of fact, they're not supposed to be perfect, but they are fun because they're all over your hands. So chocolate has always been a fun thing for me. I've always been a big fan of them. I'm going to really go crazy right now because I don't feel like stopping. I'm going to dip my dark chocolate hands into the white to make some drizzle here because that's how you can dress the rest of this up. And literally, fun little drizzles. And that way everything looks way more professional and yummy, right? So, like I said before, chocolate probably is one of the main reasons I became a pastry chef. Because as I was walking through the school and I was signed up culinary, I was all set to go. I was going to be a culinary chef. I was going to do steaks and shrimp and whatever the hell else culinary people do. And I walked through the meat cutting area and was grossed out by the fact they were cutting up raw meat. Not too keen on that. And then I walked through the bakery area and they were playing with their food. They were making beautiful chocolate sculptures. They were making sugar centerpieces. Sugar's a whole nother story. That's amazing. You blow it like it's like glass. It's fantastic. They're doing all these fun things, and it made the culinary side look so boring to me. No offense, you culinary chefs out there, you're doing a fantastic job. I'm just saying that for me, it wasn't my thing. So I love chocolate. So if you could take some of these to your loved one on a lovely Valentine night after a fantastic dinner of pasta or whatever, I'm sure that she or he would love it. So, and it's not that difficult. Anyone can do it. So once again, I'd like to thank you for joining me here on Baker Dave Presents at Temple University in Morgan Hall. I'd like to thank my special guest, me. And join us again next time with Baker Dave Presents. And remember, every recipe has a story.